I'm Jill Angelo, host of the G-Spot. I speak with the most forward-thinking experts in the medical and wellness industries, all in an effort to bring awareness to women's hormonal and vaginal health. When we feel fabulous in our bodies, we are more confident, we have healthier relationships, and we have better sex. Here's to a happy, healthy vagina. Today we're here with Nikki Smith and Kate Eisler, who are the co-leaders of Seattle's International Women's Day celebration on March 8th. 2017, next week. International Women's Day is a global celebration of the social, economic, cultural, and political achievements of women. The day also marks a call to action for accelerating gender parity. And it's been quite a year for women in the United States, so this is an incredibly timely topic. We at Genève are planning to participate and decided to bring more information about this big day to our Genève audience and to women around the world. So welcome, Kate and Nikki. Thanks for joining us today.
Happy to be here.
Well, let's dive in. Tell us a little bit about International Women's Day. Give us a little bit of the history on why it exists and how it got started.
So International Women's Day is a global celebration, as Jill said, and it has been around for over 100 years. It is a day where women have gotten together to celebrate their accomplishments and really to acknowledge, where they are and where their power is and where their strength is, and talk about their challenges for parity. And so that goes back hundreds of years, but really as they organized in the early 1900s, when the workplace was changing and the Industrial Revolution was happening, they really started to take to the streets for equal wages and better hours. And so it goes back to sort of the uniting of the sisterhood is really what happened. And so that became a little more formal in the 19-teens, basically 1917, with the suffrages movement. And in Europe, they got together and said, we need a day to celebrate. We need a day to mark this time. And as you know, they were given the right to vote in the UK, I believe it's 1917, and in the US, 1920. And so then there was a little bit of a lull until actually the 60s and the 70s, and it was sort of resurrected in the US. And I would say that the US celebrates Women's Day at a quieter level than most of the world.
Why is that?
I'm not so sure why that is. I think what is really interesting is that countries other than the US actually declare it as a national holiday and like a public holiday, like we would for President's Day here, for example. Other countries use it as a day in celebration to give their mothers, wives, daughters, sisters flowers and small gifts. And children do the same, give their mothers and grandparents small gifts and flowers. It's unclear why the US and even I would say the UK celebrate it differently. But I know that it's been growing from strength to strength. As Kate says, it's over 100 years old. And now since the UN adopted the day since I think it's 1996, they come up with a theme every single year. Usually it's about celebrating where we are today, where women are today and the progress they've made, but also it is a rally cry for action about planning for the future. And this year it's very much around closing the gender gap and asking people to take action to make this world more inclusive for everyone.
It's a national holiday in certain countries. My mind automatically goes to those countries must really be into their women, or they must be more progressive than the United States, because it's not a national holiday here. Would you say so, or what might be one of those countries as an example?
I would say there's a couple of examples in there, and they are not countries that you would think about. It's celebrated in Cuba, in Kazakhstan, lots of Eastern Europe, China, Moldova, I believe, is one of the...
Yeah, Russia, Madagascar, Georgia, Belarus. I mean, these aren't Vietnam, Zambia. These aren't the countries that you would imagine would have a day to celebrate women, which I find quite remarkable. And so my understanding that there was a lobby to Congress to make this a public holiday, but it actually never got through to vote. And so maybe we should try that again, Kate. What do you think?
I think that there's another aspect to this, too, that I believe that the U.S. has done a very good job of making Mother's Day a recognized holiday. And the difference in International Women's Day is that it is a day to celebrate the whole woman, because women are capable and doing so much more than parenting. And, you know, it's exciting to think that there is a movement to talk about women in all walks of life and their accomplishments, and a way to come together and to call us to action to think about things like gender parity in health and education and safety and wages. And so it's a much fuller, deeper array of celebration for women than just mothers. And I think that we have gotten a little too commercial in the U.S., honestly.
You both really, I think, came to embrace International Women's Day abroad. Nikki, you're natively from outside the United States, and Kate, you were living abroad at the time. Take us on the journey on what you experienced outside of the U.S. and why you've really brought this experience here with you to the local women of Seattle.
Sure. So I came to the US 3.5 years ago, but when I was in the UK, we held annual events, a series of annual events to celebrate women, whether in the workplace, outside in the industry, in the community. And so you would have dinners, you would have panels, you'd have musical festivals, a vast array of celebrations and discussions around the opportunities for the future. And when I moved here, I met up with Kate, and we were just talking in general, and I was saying I was really disappointed about the fact that I didn't see such an array of events to participate in, and I asked Kate why that was, and then somehow we came up with the idea of actually putting on an event for ourselves, and so this is our second year. We had a more modest event for 70 people last year, and then this year we're co-hosting with an amazing group of women a much larger event at the Seattle Town Hall.
That's fantastic. That's remarkable, and it shows the power of network and how things spread globally, from one country to another in terms of the support for women. So I think that's super admirable. So let's go back to an earlier point you made, Nikki, around the UN. The theme, I think, this year is Be Bold for Change. So first of all, tell us a little bit about the UN's involvement and about the theme process and what that means.
The UN really has an umbrella involvement in this, and they give us a little bit of credibility, and they give us a framework to work in. Because, as we've demonstrated, women who get together are unstoppable. And so I think that this event is one of those kind of moments. And I think the UN has recognized that. So they've put an umbrella around this, and they've said, we're going to facilitate this so that there is a common structure and incent women to build that patchwork of events. And because people are all in different places, women around the world face lots of different struggles, and they have lots of different opportunities. And really, as they theme this, so this year, Be Bold for Change, really is a pretty broad theme. And people can interpret that any way they need to interpret that. And so this is something that they have said, you need to come with your own, where you are, and be bold where you are. And that is personally, that could be professionally, that could be in a variety of situations. And so we've taken that and really tried to build our event, keeping that in mind and meeting women where they are on a variety of issues, and not making, not putting in place a standard for women, because we're all different. And there's lots of depth to us. And so we've taken that on. And the UN really is that structure behind it and helps us, just kind of bring everybody to a focal point.
And that's fascinating. It is one theme worldwide.
It is.
Wow, that's crazy. What was the theme last year, out of curiosity?
Pledge for parity. Was a theme last year. Similar in design in terms of a call to action. But this year it really is, I think it's just got more power to it. I think it's also the world we live in right now. It's interesting if you read the history. It's International Women's Day has sort of risen and fallen in terms of participation and support. There have been moments in time, I believe there's 4 waves of feminism, and, it comes in and out of fashion. And I think we're hitting a peak again, where this is very, very topical, and women are really looking for a place where they can engage with others, discuss with others, share points of view, and actually take action where in the area where they want to take action. So whether it's education in their community, or health services, or social opportunities, I think this Be Bold for Change is open to interpretation.
That's wonderful. Let's bring it down then to the big day next week, and how hundreds of women in Seattle as a start, and hopefully across the nation and the world, hundreds of thousands will be celebrating. Tell us a little bit about how you've brought that theme and this year's theme to Seattle.
We really took a look at the enthusiasm we had last year. We had so much energy in the room and thought, how do we expand that? And with this year's theme, it was so fascinating. We kind of looked at how do we inspire women to take action and be bold locally? What are the things that they would be interested in? And so we sat down and just sort of mapped out a whole variety of areas that we wanted to touch on. And we have been very fortunate to have lots of support from a community, sort of a community group of us. There are 5 of us who got involved, and one was the executive director of the Washington Opportunity Scholars Program. She was instrumental and lent her team to us, basically, to help us pull this off this year. And she brought her creativity and her ideas, and we put together a panel of absolutely amazing women to talk about their stories and talk about instances in their lives that they have been bold, or that they wish they had been bold, and specific actions they've taken that way. Because, women of all ages are interested in identifying. We all get together and we want to say, oh my gosh, I can see me doing that. And if that person can do it, maybe they can help me, or maybe something they say or do strikes a chord. And so that was our theme, and we really put together attainable women to talk about that. And that's, that is the tenor of our event this year.
That's fantastic. Tell us about the panel, or some of the women. You touch on who they are, and we don't need to let their stories be shared here. People will have to go to the event to hear that.
There's a couple of key people. We have such a fortunate situation with Girl Rising. We have the chief creative officer coming to talk to us, and she is a fascinating woman who has been all over the world filming and talking to girls and women about their stories, and really making a difference in female education, and really seeing the impact in communities and on women's lives of once you teach a girl and once a girl goes to school, the level of lifestyle that changes for them. It's fascinating, and in fact their whole community. So she's our keynote speaker. We have a professor from
Bellevue College
coming to talk about the history of women, to really set the stage for us and talk about women that we might not have really known, that are really notable historical women. And so she's going to come.
And then from the panel, we are so excited to have quite a broad panel. We have Anila Afzali, who's Executive Director from MAPS Amen, which is the Muslim group based out of Redmond. Adrienne Brown, President and COO of Intellectual Ventures. Marty Hartman, Executive Director of Mary's Place. Karen Mathis from KUOW, the President and General Manager there, Kathy O'Driscoll, Chief Human Resources Officer from PATH, and Rosa Peralata, Executive Director from the Latino Center for Health. So really quite representing a broad range of sectors from the Seattle community.
There's one other question I wish that we could work in here as you were talking. Feminism.
What role does that play in this event?
I think it plays heavily into this event. And I think, we are finding that many women think that that's a terrible word. They don't want to identify themselves as a feminist. But the fact is that the job isn't done. The job is not done at all. We are actually at a stall in moving towards parity. And there are estimates by the UN that it is 170 years for white women before we achieve parity. And it's even worse for women of color. And, to me, being a feminist means that you care and you're interested in female issues. And I think Gloria Steinem has a fabulous quote that I want to read. The story of women's struggle for equality belongs to no single feminist, nor any one organization, but the collective efforts of all who care about human rights. That's an amazing quote, and that's so true because that is the heart of feminism, if you care about women.
That's powerful. And when you say parity, what do you mean by parity?
Well, it's the World Economic Forum. They've been actually measuring parity in 4 key areas for the last 10 years, health, education, economy, and I've forgotten the fourth one. Safety. When you look at gender parity across the world, as Kate says, that on average it's going to take 170 years. But on different areas like health, we're actually making better progress. But in the political area, we're making very slow progress. Some countries are doing better, so Western Europe, the Nordics, for example. Iceland is ranked number 1 in overall gender parity, still has some years to go, whereas the US is ranked 45th out of 140. I found that quite surprising. And in fact, we're going backwards. Progress is slowing, and it's actually not as high as it was in 2013. So we're actually going backwards. And the UK is ranked 20th as well. So, you'd expect us to be at the top of the tree there, and so still a long way to go.
It's fascinating. So when you think about the receptive audience on Be Bold for Change, feminism, parity, who are you trying to reach?
All women of all ages, because women, again, it's the job isn't done, but it's going to take all of us across generations, across socioeconomical standards. It takes all ethnic groups. It takes a community to build this. This is about human rights. It isn't about one group. And we need to get together as women and understand, how do we start this flywheel moving forward again? It's stalled because of apathy. And I think just people don't understand that it isn't moving forward and going anywhere.
If someone can't attend, what's your recommendation in terms of what she can do to celebrate International Women's Day in her own individual way or with friends?
I would say a couple of things. She can wish people in her community, her other women, happy International Women's Day. But also she can educate them about the fact that this is a day and what the day is about, and really start to talk about it, because that's where a movement begins. And so we've recognized that you may not be able to come to this particular event, but it is a day of importance. And the UN lists other events that are happening around the region and around Seattle, some of them on the 11th. There's a couple of things. There's a run sponsored by Planned Parenthood. There's another march on Saturday, Vital Voices. And so there's other events, but I would encourage absolutely everyone to go to the website, the UN website, and look up International Women's Day Seattle, and they will see the variety of events.
Well, in closing, anything you want to mention to our listeners that we didn't cover?
Yes, so if you want to get a ticket to the event, they're available on Eventbrite. Just search for International Women's Day, be bold. And so grab your ticket, grab your best friend, grab your mum, your sister, your aunt, your mentees, your college friends, and bring them all down. One other thing we forgot to mention is that we have a local musical artist who's going to be performing at the event. Her name is Star Anna. She's a folk singer. We understand she's pretty amazing. So we have appetizers and wine and some amazing women to talk to. So definitely come on down if you can. And then the other thing I think is to build on what Kate said is, everybody has amazing women in their community, that we're really good at supporting each other. So if you can only have a coffee with a friend or a lady down the street, buy them a flower or send them a little gift or a random act of kindness, and just show them that you've got their back and that you support them and you're there for them. That can mean much more than you think it could mean.
Well, on that note then, let's go ahead and wrap it up. Thank you, Kate and Nikki, and thank you more than ever for bringing International Women's Day to the local Seattle community. I'm looking forward to being a part of that, and we hope that everyone listening will get involved in their local community or come on down to the Seattle, remind me again,
Town Hall.
The Seattle Town Hall, downtown Seattle.
At 4:30 on the 8th of March.
Fantastic. Thank you both.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the G-Spot. We welcome your feedback at geneve.com. That's GENNEVE.com. You can follow us on Facebook, where you will see more on show notes. And subscribe to us on iTunes, and you'll never miss an episode. The G-Spot is produced by Shannon Perry. Theme music by Smitty. And from all of us at Geneve, think happy, healthy vaginas.